You know that sense of accomplishment when you finish a really, 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 really long book? Whew. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, bookworms? It's Mike here today with another weekly update. This is where I get to connect with you, the audience, and ask you, hey, here's what I'm doing. What are you guys up to? Why don't you guys let me know in the comments what you're up to? So, last time we spoke, I said that my plans were to, actually I explained why I was getting so demotivated on the Oathbringer series that I was going to break my reading schedule, and I was not going to be doing The Burning White, which comes out in 5 days. On release as I originally scheduled. And that's because I finished The Blood Mirror and it did not get better. This was so blatant that this series was meant to be a trilogy and Weeks could not reel it in. And it's to the point to where I went from thinking this was the best new fantasy series I had read since Joe Abercrombie's The First Law to I'm so demotivated now, I don't even read the last book. I will read the last book because, like I've said before, who reads 4 books that are this size and then just stops? I'm just not going to be doing it anytime soon. So, guys, if you were counting on my Burning White review anytime close to the release of the book, I hate to disappoint you. It's not going to happen. I don't see myself getting to that book until at least next year because I am burned out on that saga. But however, a saga I'm not burned out on, regardless of what people have interpreted that as, interpreted, is that a word? Interpreted that as, is Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archive. The story with this book is that people thought I said that I was bored with it. What happened is I did not read the Stormlight books when they first came out. I was actually a late arrival on Sanderson. I didn't read Wheel of Time, so I didn't even know really who the guy was. A book buddy recommended the Mistborn books to me, so he thought it would be a good gateway to me for Brandon Sanderson, and I devoured those books in like a month, and I loved them. And he was like, "Look, I know how you feel about not starting series that aren't complete yet, but if you really like Sanderson's style, you should check out the Stormlight books, the Stormlight Archive. This is basically, his God mode of fantasy books." And I saw the size of the first book, and I was like, "Holy jeez." But I went ahead and said, why not? This guy, I learned more about him. I learned how prolific he was. I talked about Brandon Sanderson a lot right here if you want to hear more about Brandon Sanderson. And I saw how fast he wrote and how much he communicated with the fans. That's a big soft spot with me. If you communicate with your fans a lot. In fact, this guy apologizes for not updating status meters on his website. So I went ahead and I dove in and I read the first 2 books, which are monsters, in a month. And I thought they were amazing. And then this book came out like 2 weeks later. And it wasn't due to boredom or anything. I was just, man, I needed a break. I mean, I had read like 1 million words or something. I needed a break. And I only got like about 12 to 15 chapters into it before. It was probably more than that. It was probably about 200 pages. I said I need a break. And the thing was, it kind of fell by the wayside and I almost forgot about it. And I said, I want to pick that back up. And I started picking it back up where I left off. I was like, I don't remember what's going on. So I actually started over earlier this year, and I got about halfway through it. And again, it was a little bit of a heavy read compared to the first 2 books. Yeah, that is not to say it is bad. What I mean by that is I don't think Brandon Sanderson could write a bad book if he tried. I've gone well on record about my love and admiration for him as an author and how I think he is this generation's Tolkien. But halfway through this book was like 700 pages, and it was like, okay, take a short break and I'll get back to it. And I did, and I finished it this week. And I don't think I'll do a review for it because that review video would be just outrageously long, so consider this like a mini review. When I say that this is a heavy read, there's a lot of lore, a lot of build-up, and it got to the point where at the end I was having to go back to the glossary and remember what some of these phrases mean because there's so many of them that he throws out. Very Wheel of Time-ish, in a good way. And it kind of weighed down. There was a part in the Shadesmar. If you guys know if you don't know what Shadesmar is, I'm not ruining anything for you. But there's a part in there where I almost felt like it was taking me out of the story, and I felt like it slowed it down to where it made it that inevitable Sanderlanche, as they call it, which is his third acts of his books, are always just pow. It was as good as always, but it did feel like this was a heavier read than the first two, and the first two aren't light. It's just by comparison. So if this is the transition book to books 4 and 5, which are going to be the end of the cycle, it's a 10-book series, but it's going to be 2 5-book series, if that makes sense to you. It makes sense that that's the way that it went. Lots of questions answered, lots more brought up. Before Stormlight 4 comes out, I'll probably talk more in depth about this and talk about things that are still not answered and things that I want to see. So I was very happy. Yes, it's my least favorite in the Stormlight archive, but that's only because Way of Kings and Words of Radiance are at the top of the fantasy genre. There's hard to find anything as good as those two. So again, don't take that as a slander. As for what I am doing now, I am working on Witcher's books. I read the first short story collection. I'm reading the second one now, which is Sword of Destiny. I really liked Last Wish. I'm only in the first story on Sword of Destiny, but it's very, very good. Lots of Geralt and Yennefer stuff in there. So if you're like me and you only played the games, this is like a new experience for me. I feel like I've got faces for all the names, but I did want to get those first 2 short story collections done before the Netflix series comes out. So that's why I'm not going to push those to the side before I start my next big thing. I talked about on the previous week about how I was reading, continuing the Red Rising series, and I did my review for Golden Sun right here. Amazing book, and this is book 4 in that series, which is the start of a second trilogy. It takes place 10 years after the events of the first trilogy, and this is just something I kind of have on the side as like a palate cleanser, if that makes sense. When you read a ton of fantasy, sometimes you might need like a little bit of a break, so I like to keep a science fiction or maybe like a Stephen King or a horror book on the side as something I read when I kind of need a break from the swords and the shields and the monsters and the goblins and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? So this isn't anything I plan on finishing anytime soon. I will finish Witcher before I start my next big project, but this one is something that I'll be reading very slowly over the course of the next year. So I probably won't bring it up again on every video. This is probably the last one. I just want to say again, read these guys. I think that you'll really like them. Once you get past that first book, which you might love the first book. I was lukewarm on the first book, but the second book, awesome stuff. But as you guys might have known if you follow the channel, I finally crossed 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. And it opened this thing called a community tab, which is where basically you can make like a Facebook post, right? But you can put like a poll up. And I just thought, no one's going to vote in this poll. I know this is rehashing what I said on my video where I talked about 13 series that I'd like to read. Yeah, lots of good discussion. In fact, that's probably the most interaction I've ever gotten on a video I've done is 13 recommended series that I'd really like to read. Lots of feedback. Thank you guys so much. Again, that's what I'm here for, man, is to talk to you guys. I love talking to you guys. So please, more comments. They're great, man. I appreciate them. I appreciate the comments more than I appreciate the views. Trust me. But I put up a poll. Didn't think anyone was going to vote in it because I didn't know if anybody could see it. I don't remember ever seeing any community posts on YouTube before. So maybe this is something I'm just not seeing on my deal. But I put up a thing about a vote. So I took a vote for the book I was going to read next. And Liza Locklamora won, guys. It beat Wheel of Time. That's a big deal. So I had no idea this book was so beloved. I've heard a lot about it, obviously. But I mean, on this channel, Wheel of Time just blows away everything. So I was surprised. And I'm excited because I didn't have this on my list until next year. But I went ahead and moved it up if it won the vote. And like I said, I'm not going to run a vote like that and not honor it. That's what you guys want to hear me talk about. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll do this, and then I'll do Crown of Swords after it, since it finished second on that list. So Wheel of Time is about to get rolling again, guys, but I got to get into the pirates first. I believe it's pirates. Is it pirates? I think it's because the second book has pirate ships on it, so I assumed it was pirates. I don't even know if it's pirates. I don't know anything about the series, just that it's wonderful. That's just what I've heard. That's pretty much it on the book front. As far as some other things I did this week, I broke down. I went and saw Joker. Very, very different than I was expecting. I'm sure everyone kind of has their opinions about it right now. All I'll say is, guys, don't go into it expecting a superhero, or I guess rather a supervillain comic book movie. It's not. This is basically how I described it. This movie is a reimagining of Robert De Niro's Taxi Driver, but with some DC characters in there to try to get some attention on it. Nothing in this feels like the Joker to me. None of the Joker that I've ever read, and I've been reading DC comics since I was shorter than my kids are now. So it definitely is not that. I felt like the actual Thomas and Martha Wayne stuff in there was kind of, almost felt like it was a studio mandate just so they can put it under the DC umbrella, basically. But yeah, if you're wanting to go there and see like The Killing Joke adapted, this is not it, guys. But I will say, I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful movie. And I mean that in a different way. I mean it wonderful in like a Joe Abercrombie way, as in like, wow, that's dark. It's so wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderfully written. It's wonderfully directed. It's wonderfully shot. It's wonderfully acted. Joaquin Phoenix definitely should get Oscar consideration. If they snub him, that's just, well, let's just say I hope they get what they deserve. And if you've seen the movie, you know what that line means. I understand there's a lot of feelings attached to Joker for whatever reason. Guys, just quit. Just let's treat entertainment as entertainment again. Quit trying to find an underlying message and everything. This movie had enough in there for both sides of the aisle. Trust me, it really did. In fact, I think it was to a point to where it was like, if you didn't know better, you would think that this guy was a libertarian that made this movie. So there, it definitely seems like there is a little more politics in it than I usually would be happy with. But the fact that it was like doing both sides of it in a fair way, that you'd have to be blind to say you didn't see any politics in the movie. But I don't think that they went over the way that everyone who has not seen it and has given these reasons why they're not going to see it, they're not for that reason, not at all. But I enjoyed the movie. It's the best movie I've seen this year. Yeah, even over Endgame. I definitely think it was the best movie I've seen this year. And it makes you ask some questions, about like how we treat mental health in this country. And I'm in America. I don't know if you guys are watching America. It really raises some questions. It really, really does. What else? I watched El Camino. That was the Breaking Bad movie on Netflix. It was fine. It felt like a 2-hour episode of the TV show. And that's never going to be bad. It's just, it isn't like that. Oh God, yes, it was all the answers from Breaking Bad that I wanted. I felt like Breaking Bad closed up most of their loopholes, except maybe what happened to Jesse. And this does that. And it's fine, but it isn't like a super satisfying, it's in my head 3 days later kind of thing. So yeah, is it worth watching? Sure, it's fun to see these characters again. Is it something that I feel like they need to repackage the Breaking Bad box set and put this movie in? Not really. But it's definitely worth your time. Aaron Paul's fabulous, as always. He's really, really, really good. I haven't really actually seen anything else with him except him as Jesse Pinkman. I didn't see Need for Speed. I'm not going to watch Westworld Season 3. Westworld Season 2 was so bad, it was like our scheduled nap time. I think that might be it for movies. Yeah, I think so. Other than that, me and my kid have been playing some. He's gotten real interested in Zelda. He loves the Zelda games. He has a Switch, and he loved Breath of the Wild so much that he's actually going as Link for Halloween. So he told me he saw the commercial for the remake they did of Link's Awakening. Said he wanted it, and I was like, whoa. That's very, very different. It's the top-down 2D. I didn't know how he would feel about that. So I said, okay, I tell you what. Let's go to my Super Nintendo over here, and let's play A Link to the Past. It's an old Zelda game, and see how you do with that. So we've been playing that together, good father-son time, and it's kind of funny to me to sit back and see him get so frustrated with some of the dungeons, because I hate to say back in my day, the games were not, they didn't hold your hand. They're like, just figure it out. You got infinite continues, you got, whatever. That's obviously subjective depending on when you started gaming. But that, and I on my downtime myself, since I busted out the Super Nintendo, I started playing Super Metroid, which is my favorite Super Nintendo game ever. 25 years old this year. Wow, amazing. But yeah. Other than that, I ain't got a ton going on. Just going to keep on doing these readings and things like that. What are you guys up to? You doing anything fun that you want to talk about? Hit me up in the comments again. This is why I do these videos, guys, is to talk to you. I actually started a Facebook page. I'll make a separate video for this to talk about it. But if I could get you guys to like the Facebook page, because no better advertising than free advertising. And apparently, if you make a Facebook page, it's basically free advertising if you can get the likes and the shares and that kind of stuff. I don't know. Again, I like to grow the channel, but I don't like to beg people for anything like that. But so it'll be super awkward. But I'm gonna make like a please like us on Facebook video because I hate myself. But other than that, I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.